All right, so this is day 10 of the Product Manager Job Hunting Challenge that we are running for Q1 2025. My name is Rich, the founder of Product Gym, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you guys have not already. Here's the craziest thing. So many takeaways, but overall, it was a pretty interesting session. It took about 3 hours. And it was probably the most energy intensive coaching call that I've ever had to go ahead and run. But I feel like it was absolutely worth it. And even though it was very energy intensive for me, I definitely appreciate everybody that showed up there, staying in with me for like 3 hours. I think there's so many awesome takeaways. We had the whole coaching call recorded. For those of you who are part of the program, by all means, go ahead and watch it if you guys want. But I think like a recurring sync that I want to host every single week is just doing resumes. And it wasn't just, the first thing that we learned about resumes today as a group. Um, and I did ask people, like, pretty much there's I think at the very end, last of it standing, there was probably like 3 or 4 people left, and we started off with a group of like, I don't know, 30, maybe even close to like 40 people. Is first things first. Everybody wanted their resume reviewed individually, but like doing it as a group, although I did see some reluctance, and although I did see some people uncomfortable, kind of like, you're putting out my resume out there. The first thing is, and this is why I always advocate for group coaching over one-on-one coaching, is like, people got a chance to go ahead and see what it was like being a recruiter for a day and how similar people's resumes look. And also, I was able to share with you guys, as somebody that's been in recruiting, where the eyes immediately zoom to first, where they go second, where they go third. The first line of each position is known as your headline bullet, and how, naturally your eyes go there. The second place after that per position is the last bullet of your resume. And, the types of biases that they look for immediately. What are the thoughts that are going in their head? What kind of lens do they perceive your resume? So really giving you guys a perspective of product manager resumes from a group perspective, which I do a lot of on YouTube already, but seeing resume after resume after resume after resume, what people told me at the very end, I was getting DMs pinged individually, was like, wow, it is not fun being a recruiter. You don't get paid a lot of money to be a recruiter. A lot of times people don't like recruiters, or but like, this is everything that's going, and they're doing this for a year, 2 years, 3 years of their life, and they're not getting paid a lot of money. If you worked in an agency like myself, where you make commission, it's a very high stress position, and like, time is money. When you're recruiting, you're largely, your output is being a time saver. You are doing a job that other people are perfectly equipped to do, but they would just rather not do it. And how jaded you can get, how jaded you can go ahead and feel right afterwards. I think that's like, seeing that perspective of like resume back to back to back, I think that's what's very helpful. That's takeaway number one. Takeaway number two is that we were learning, people are like, I'm not really getting any interviews. Well, like, people haven't really been tracking. It was clear that people in my program are getting interviews. And to nail it down, it seems like the standard across the board was 30 application equals out to one interview. So 30 applications. So now that we have a conversion rate, how do we go ahead and scale that up? And when we say 30 applications to one interview, what we've noticed is that the turnaround time has been like about 30 applications to one interview, like within about like a week or 2 weeks, if you're utilizing one of our templates, right? But how consistently are you applying? That's also very important. How are you applying? Where are you applying, right? But now that we have a number, we're just going to go ahead and scale that number up wholesale. So next week, we're going to be focusing a lot more on the execution side of the business. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is just like the placebo effect of it all. People's resumes actually are not as bad as like what they would like to go ahead and believe. They think that their resume is like absolutely horrible, but there's actually things that we can do to actually make it better. But like, if you don't believe in your resume, and I think this is why going back to group coaching is so important. If you don't believe in your resume, you're not going to be firing that thing off like you believe in it. You just simply don't have faith in the resume that you're utilizing, right? And that just really comes from like you being exposed to like other resumes, and then you actually learn, okay, well, shit, well, my conversion rate is that I'm not really getting interviews. Well, what does that even really mean? It's like, well, like, are you tracking how many positions are you hitting a day? And then come to think about it, well, I'm getting some interviews. I'm applying to X amount of jobs. Everybody kind of concluded like it was around like 30, getting one interview. Now that we have those two numbers, oh, you bet your ass we coming out freaking with a vengeance, right? So placebo effect, I think, is also very important. Fourth thing here is the H-1B visa status. So we have a lot of people that are in our program that's on an H-1, and or they need, or they have some type of visa sponsorship issue, or they require some type of visa. And to tell you the truth, I was a recruiter in the last during the previous Trump administration, and that was a time when H-1Bs, visa holders, and other types of visa holders working in technology is nothing new in America. In fact, I think in America, the tech industry in America actually owes these professionals a bit of gratitude for what they do. The like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. The the contribution that's been made over there, and there's reasons why they don't do it out of the goodness of their own heart. They do it because, well, number one, it's like you guys work really hard. Number two, they know it's difficult for you to leave. So unlike somebody that's got the great resignation problem or doing quiet quitting or might be starting a business, like if you're an H-1B visa, it's borderline impossible for you to start a side hustle because you're only supposed to be doing your job. So they love that versus somebody that's going to be like doing, I have a side hustle curriculum that people have been taking that's like very successful, and they like, man, Rich, I see all that content that you're running on your other YouTube channel. I'd love to do that, but I can't. I can't. So there's a lot of reasons. Everything tech does is for profit. So but at the same time, I wanted people to know that if you have a name that's like an international name, okay, that it could be easily misconstrued as like you require sponsorship. So like adding next to it U.S. citizen, adding next to your name green card holder. In the past 8 years that we've been doing this, we've always seen an increase in interviews. And also people have asked me like, so like if I have H-1B, is that like bad? It's like, no, that's not bad. In fact, be very proud of it. But here's the thing. Most people think it's just like, these are the three options on the menu, right? U.S. citizen for one, U.S. citizen for one, green card holder is the next best thing, and then maybe like a TN visa for the Canadians, and then like H1s. Like actually no, there's like north of like 50 different types of visas that I remembered us going through when I was in recruiting during orientation week, and like everything that you're doing is very time based. Everything that you're doing very time based. So another takeaway that we had that's kind of built into this one is when you're a recruiter, when I was in recruiting, you're recruiting for 20 to 30 positions at any given time. Right now it's like closer to 70 positions at any given time, at least minimum 60, 65. They're overworked, they're underpaid, and they know their job is very, very at risk of being replaced by an AI agent or just AI in general. So they're very, very, very stressed out about like, they're very, very stressed out about like, does what they do even matter? If you're feeling defeated going into a product manager job hunt, like is like getting a product manager job even worth it anymore? When you're a recruiter, you're thinking like, is being a recruiter even worth it anymore, right? Like, feel like I'm doing this job every single day, I'm working as hard as I can. They could fill if you're working internally, you fill every single position and still not get a pay bump and still not be, your bonus. If there's anything left, Uncle Sam takes 50% of that bad boy away. So you're feeling like what you're doing right now is not even worth it anymore. I mean, having some of that empathy. I think right now people are like, when they're thinking about like applying and interviewing right now, after seeing all these different resumes and who they're competing against, it's been a completely different outlook for them. So another thing that we also talked about here is why it's so important to go and apply at scale, and actually, kind of divvy up the application responses. But overall, here are the next steps in the games. Uh, the people that got like my review towards like the very end, and totally appreciate for sticking out. I'm gonna figure out a way to make it out for you guys because you guys saw everybody else come up front. But like now that we have resumes ready to go, and it's in the 10th day of the year finally. We are now going to be hitting it so hard. So if you have not joined the program yet, now is the time, because now I can show you guys all the strategies. What I've realized too, one of my biggest takeaways is I was posting up all these jobs, and largely a lot of people were not messaging these people, because you're not going to message somebody if you don't feel like, what's the point, right? Like, I'm going to message them and then what, right? But now that we know our resumes are ready to go, we know our LinkedIn's are ready to go, we're going to go out there and attack that shit hard. Another takeaway that I just realized coming into my head right now is the LinkedIn profile also has to coordinate with your resume. Something that I taught people is that the standard operating procedure for recruiters is that they take a look at a resume, they like it, they immediately hit your LinkedIn. And I was amazed how many people didn't even have their LinkedIn handle on their resume. And if they got to take that extra step, they're not going to go out there and reach out to you. So being a little bit like intentional about that, because you're going to be more generous. You're going to be a little bit more fluffy with your resume versus with your LinkedIn, right? Like, your LinkedIn is for everybody to see. So like it has to coordinate. So if there's certain things that I'm not like, but Rich, I gotta sell myself. I'm trying to get the job. I'm trying to stand out. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but like it's gotta look, when you put the fries, the burger, and the shake next to the whole sandwich. It's gotta look like it belongs together, right? So like these are also things. It's gotta look like it belongs together. And these are just things right now that like I just want people to just be very cognizant of. Last but definitely not least, I was missing one more in there. The resume, the LinkedIn. Holy moly. Holy moly. The resume, the LinkedIn, and I would say like one last thing. I'm kind of blanking out here is, what is it? Oh yeah, the last thing is definitely, I think it's so important that people participate in more group resume review sessions in the future, because you need to know how your resume is stacking up against your competition, your competitor. This is actually very important, because like these, like when people actually got a chance to see like resume after resume after resume after resume, we were only like 30, 40 today. Our recruiter's doing this shit every single day, morning to afternoon to night, sometimes on the weekend. You're multiplying this 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, 50 weeks a year, and you're doing it for like a year, 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years. Like, I think people have like like imagine like, people go to like DMV sometimes and they're wondering why people at the DMV are assholes, right? like okay, now I kind of understand why recruiters are like that. It's like this is their shit every single day. So like I just want to go ahead and just let everybody know y'all are not alone, but you have to be willing to go and put yourself out there if you want to be successful in this, because um otherwise it's just like you gotta be able to put yourself out there. Otherwise, um like getting it on a one-on-one basis, so many people are like, oh, one-on-one, like, oh yeah, is that true, is that true, like you need to see who your competition is, especially from the side of the people that are like viewing your resume. I gave you guys that vantage point today. um Looking at it just from the resume part and the LinkedIn part, I'm gonna be giving it to you guys right now from the standpoint of the recruiter. So, like, I'm gonna be dedicating a few slots, but one part is going to be like, today was like all resumes, perfectly Gucci. And then I want to dedicate like another day to just applying, and then I want to dedicate like another day to just interviewing. These are the three things that you need in order to be successful. So definitely come see us soon, very, very, very soon, because we're about to unleash hell. I want to make sure as many people get a product manager job by Valentine's Day, latest by March 28th, and together, along with all of the positive affirmation that we're gonna go ahead and see, like we're gonna go out there and absolutely crush it. Amazingly enough, is like sometimes people think it's easy to have like a very negative view of my thing is like bad. It's actually not bad. People are actually like, okay, we now know a conversion ratio is 30 to 1. So right now, what we got to go ahead and do is scale 30 to 1 up. And that's 30 to 1 in terms of short-term conversions. But the average conversion time is about like 4 to 7 weeks in this market anyways. So if we can figure out how to go and scale up to like 100 to 150 to 200 a day, somebody in my program is doing 200 applications a day. She got 5 offers in the program. So what we got to think about right now, and I want to challenge everybody's paradigm, is there's that movie. One of my favorite movies is I love movies about cars. Ford versus Ferrari. Like if we have that mindset, like 200 applications a day, I'm gonna have to no, we're gonna break that thing apart. I love the trailer for that movie, Ford versus Ferrari. Like it's like you said we could beat a Ferrari. Yeah, like did you tell them like it's gonna take like I don't know like 100 years? No. How long did you tell them? How long do we have? About 90 days. Like I want us to come into the group with that freaking mindset. These motherfuckers up. Let's get it, dude. Let's freaking go. Let's freaking go. Oh my gosh, let's go. Let's go. Let's go.